Alright, what you are looking at is the North American NES top loader. This thing was released in 1993. I was in college, I remember it specifically. I remember the TV ad campaigns for this thing. It was like a new reduced price of like $50. And the first time I saw it on a commercial, I thought, my god, this thing is f***ing ugly. Who the f*** would buy something like that? The old Nintendo looks so much cooler. I'd just rather have that. Little did I know that this baby has it going on. Let's take a closer look at some of the major differences here on the NES Model 101. For one thing, it's a hell of a lot different looking than the original big gray box. We have a push button reset and a slider switch for off-on. No LED light, unlike the original NES. We have two front controller ports. We have a big feature here, the top loading cartridge slot. Now, unlike the original NES, you just simply take a cartridge, stick it in, you're good to go. And this cartridge pin connector is not like that piece of shit on the original, which makes this thing very desirable. Let's pull out Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt and take a look at some of the other features, which aren't many. Unlike the original gray box NES, we have just an RF output, no composite AV jacks. There's a channel selector to select between channel 3 and 4, and a power jack, and that's about it. The size of the unit is not much bigger than a game cart. And another neat feature, the radically different stylized controller. This was redesigned to be a little more ergonomic. The old NES controllers were big rectangles, and they actually hurt your hands if you play with them for a while. This is a bit more comfortable to play with, especially for an extended period of time. I do remember the nickname of these controllers though. They were called the dog bone because, well, they look like a fucking dog bone. Now let's crack the case open on this thing and see what the insides look like. We have a very minimalist look for the guts of the redesigned Nintendo Entertainment System. Not much there. Let's remove the RF shielding. Take a look at the motherboard. One key feature, there's no NES 10 chip in this thing, which means you can play unlicensed games, different region games. This thing will play just about anything, with the exception of 1 or 2 games. But it's a great trade-off because you have no flashing red light syndrome because of the super crappy cartridge pin connector on the original NES. Let's put this thing back together. And there you have it. The redesigned NES Model 101. Didn't sell very well when it was originally out. Wasn't even on retail shelves for a year. I think it was like 10 months or 8 months or something it was out. But this puppy is a workhorse. If you're playing a lot of old classic NES games, this should be on your to-buy list. I'd like to talk for a minute about the power supply on this NES Model 101 and the original NES for that matter, because they use the same power supply. And it's kind of an unusual power supply. 9 volts AC instead of 9 volts DC like everything else on the planet. And that made for some interesting things. I think it might have been an intentional design to sabotage competition. Because while this thing runs on 9 volts AC, if you plug a 9 volt DC power adapter that'll fit onto it, like the Sega Genesis power adapter, it'll still work. But if you do the reverse and you plug a Nintendo 9-volt AC power adapter into a Sega appliance, you'll typically blow out a couple fuses. Now, is that an accident? We may never know. I'm Dommy from Classic Games Revisited. Until next time.